This video is brought to you by Squarespace. From custom domains to beautiful websites using their easily customizable templates that you can have up and running in minutes, e-commerce, email and email marketing, SEO, analytics, and scheduling, Squarespace does it all and has done it for us for the last 6 years. If you are a small to mid-sized business in any industry, Squarespace is the place to go for all of your website needs. Hop over to www.squarespace.com/Hugh for a free trial. And if you like what you see and want to move forward, receive 10% off your first order by using the discount code Hugh at checkout. Thanks, Squarespace.
Why, in 2022, would anyone be interested in attaching a manual focus M-mount lens to an autofocusing full-frame mirrorless camera like our Sony A74 via an autofocusing adapter? Glad you asked. Hey everybody, I'm Hugh Brownstone for Three Blind Men and an Elephant, and today I want to talk briefly about Techart Pro's EA9, the brand new successor to their previous Leica M to Sony E-mount autofocusing adapter system, the EA7. This is not going to be a deep dive, but instead a first look and a punchline. Three, really. First, this is a much refined design over the EA7. The autofocus motor technology is improved to the point that the adapter no longer extends past the bottom of the body. In fact, it is a far simpler donut design made possible by 4 much smaller motors, and they are quieter and faster to boot. Second, the EA9 allows one to create what is essentially a functionally superior, autofocusing IBIS-equipped, EVF-only, far less expensive Leica M10, a functionally superior, less expensive, IBIS-equipped, full-frame Leica CL with access not only to the autofocusing L-mount lens ecosystem, but with the ability to autofocus manual M-glass, in either case by pairing it most especially with Sony's 24-megapixel, IBIS-equipped, rangefinder-style A7C. Third, it allows one to create what is essentially a functionally superior, interchangeable lens version of Leica's Q series, either the original 24-megapixel Q by mating it to that same A7C, or if you prefer a more traditional form factor, A7 III, or call it Q1/4 by mating it to Sony's 33-megapixel A7 IV, or the updated 47-megapixel Q2 by mating it to a 42-megapixel A7R2 or 3, or a 50-megapixel A1. Even what might turn out to be a 60-megapixel Q3 by mating it to a Sony A7R4, perhaps who knows, 80, 100-megapixel Q3 by mating it to the rumored A7R5 of the same resolution. But with this said, the question becomes, who is this for? I just told you, really. Definitionally, the EA9 is for anyone who wants to use manual M-glass on a Sony body, whether that lens is made by Leica, Voigtlander, or one of the newer companies like TT Artisan. More interestingly, it's for people who want to shoot manual M-glass with the ability to autofocus that glass when wanted or needed, choosing from a wider array of higher functioning, less expensive bodies than what Leica is offering. Now, I've already mentioned IBIS and autofocusing lens ecosystems, but I should also mention that, at least with the A7R4 and A1, the potential for easier manual focusing due to their 5.7 million and 9.4 million dot EVFs, respectively. Put differently, I'd assert this will be most interesting to those of us who want the joy of manually focusing some of the smallest, sharpest, and most characterful lenses ever made, but who may need to rely upon autofocus 100% of the time, or who want to be able to fall back on autofocus if for no other reason than to confirm focus. This is where it gets really interesting. Does this mean people my age whose eyesight has begun to annoy the crap out of them and need autofocus every now and again? Or does this mean younger people with the yearning to return to the feel, at least, of the film era, yet don't really want to surrender digital workflow or critical sharpness because manual focus, when one is not zone focusing, is much harder and slower than one might have imagined? I'd love your take on who this is for in the comments section. Of course, the proof is in the pudding. How well does it work? The short answer is surprisingly well, thank you very much, depending on your benchmark. Because if you're looking for G-master levels of autofocus, speed, and silence, stop. Just stop. That's silly. There's a reason why autofocusing lenses are so much larger than fully manual focusing lenses, and it's really a function of the motors and lens design. Linear motors were designed precisely to do what manual helical focusing rings can't. Move glass quickly, silently, and steplessly, but this also required lens design choices to minimize how hard those motors have to work to achieve those goals. And again, if you're interested in manually focusing glass to begin with, you are most likely not looking for instantaneous focus anyway, preferring a more deliberate pace. If that's you, the good news is that the Techart Pro LM-EA9 delivers the goods, all in a package not much bigger than my non-autofocusing Leica M2L adapter, definitely smaller than its predecessor, the LM-EA7, as I've already mentioned. Mated to our Summicron M50F2 and to our A74, I'd say it feels, sounds, and focuses actually like my old Canon EOS 3 from the film days, which is to say relatively slowly, relatively loudly, with a distinct focus in steps, which I think actually is quite remarkable and certainly fit for purpose. Of course, as with anything, there is room for improvement. Is, for example, the LM-EA9 the device that can finally provide precise aperture values for manual M-glass via its electronic contacts? No, because my M lens, like all M mount lenses I've ever seen or used or heard of, are old school. No electronics, ergo no way to communicate with it. But it would be amazing if they could. I look at that kind of data every time I shoot with digital cameras. Is it weatherproof? No. But then again, neither is your M-glass. Is the battery drain excessive? To be determined, but the A74 has a great battery, and once you turn the camera off, the LM-EA9 doesn't continue to drain it. How is it in low light? Better than I thought it would be on our A74, but the A74 is phenomenal in low light. And while it's not as good in low light as the latest Sony lenses attached to the same body, it's as good or better than my own eyes. And that's the point, isn't it? Does it work in video mode continuous autofocus? No. There are a couple of things about the adapter that I still don't quite understand, and I'm awaiting further clarification. I understand the list of focal lengths and associated apertures Techart Pro supplies is a way of identifying to the camera the focal length of the lens to which it is attached so that the IBIS can work better with it. And if one sets the camera to manual mode rather than program shutter preferred or aperture preferred mode, using a modern lens to dial it in before detaching it, say f8, which is the aperture they associate with 50 millimeters, this does indeed leave the aperture set at f8 in camera, irrespective of what aperture I actually use with my M glass. The good news is that autofocus does work at any aperture I tried. While it seems obvious enough that one would set the lens to infinity when focusing at or near infinity, and conversely at minimum focusing distance when one wishes to focus at or near minimum focusing distance, I have no sense of what either the rules of thumb or calculations are for any point in between. One cannot, for example, simply set the lens to infinity and presume the autofocus will work from infinity to minimum focusing distance. It does not. That's it. Clearly a niche product, but I think it does what it does well, and I suspect it will indeed find its audience. But what do you think?
This video is brought to you by Squarespace. From custom domains to beautiful websites using their easily customizable templates that you can have up and running in minutes, e-commerce, email and email marketing, SEO, analytics and scheduling, Squarespace does it all and has done it for us for the last 6 years. If you are a small to mid-sized business in any industry, Squarespace is the place to go for all of your website needs. Hop over to www.squarespace.com/Hugh for a free trial. And if you like what you see and want to move forward, receive 10% off your first order by using the discount code Hugh at checkout. Thanks, Squarespace. If you like what you've seen here today, please give a thumbs up, subscribe, join the conversation below, because this is an incredible audience. If you'd like a copy of our Streets of New York, the book, head over to www.3bmep.com/books. If you'd like to schedule a one-on-one video session with me for a portfolio review, explore or hone your artistic voice, select gear, and more, sign up at www.3bmep.com/booking. Finally, consider supporting our work by using our no-cost-to-you affiliate links down below, picking up some official Three Blind Men and an Elephant swag at 3bmep.threadless.com, sending coffee money via PayPal, or best of all, join us as a patron over at Patreon. However you choose to support us, as always, we thank you for it.